And we're also going to be able to set people up for success by making sure that they have access to computers no matter where they're coming from.
I love to hear that. And can you talk about some of the benefits of working for the city of Milwaukee?
We have all of your basic benefits from retirement plans. You've got pension at the city of Milwaukee, one of the only organizations that still has pensions. You have full medical, dental. We have mental health covered under our medical programs. You've got just the work environment. I left the city of Milwaukee for another opportunity, and I came back. A lot of times it's not about those tangible benefits, it's the intangibles. I love the people I work with. I want to make sure people realize this is a place where you can feel like you can add and not just work for the city, but you work on the city.
I love to hear that, a place where you feel valued at, and that is fantastic. Lastly, can you tell people when the event is again and where they can find more information?
Absolutely. They can go to the City of Milwaukee's website, so that's going to be www.milwaukee.gov. And then if they want to go directly to this resource site, they can go to milwaukee.gov/Career Resource Fair. All the information will be there. The event itself is on Thursday, April 10th from 10 o'clock and 2 o'clock at City Hall, which is at 200 East Wells Street.
Thank you so much for sharing this great information, and thank you for joining us here for our Spotlight.
Thank you, Kyle. So much appreciation.
Again, this has been your Community Spotlight with the City of Milwaukee for their Career and Resource Fair taking place this Thursday, April 10th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at City Hall.
You're listening to the new 101.7 The Truth, founded in partnership with Associated Bank. Your money works here. 101.7 FM, 1510 AM, WGKB Waukesha, and W269DL Milwaukee. A locally owned Good Karma brand station.
It's time! It's time! It's Beta time!
You are watching a master at work.
Truth Nation, get ready for the greatest 60 minutes in radio, giving you his authentic and bold opinions, bringing you all the information, entertainment, and conversations you gotta hear. From local issues to trending topics and headline news, it is time for Truth to Power with Kyle Wallace on the award-winning 101.7 The Truth, The Truth app, 1017thetruth.com, and streaming live on YouTube. Now, live from the American Family Insurance Studio at the Avenue in the heart of downtown Milwaukee, here is your award-winning host, Kyle Wallace.
It is Truth to Power here on the award-winning 1017 The Truth. I am your host of Truth to Power, Kyle Wallace. We are live from the American Family Insurance Studio here at the 3rd Street Market Hall in the Avenue. Shout out to my boy DJ Brother Z holding it down the ones and twos as always. You can watch and stream us live on YouTube by going to 1017 The Truth on YouTube. That's 1017 The Truth on YouTube. Go ahead and give us a thumbs up as always and subscribe as we are on our road to 5,000 subscribers. Lastly, you can chime in on the conversation at 833-212-1017. That's 833-212-1017. Before I get going today, I got a little Christmas gift that I finally broke out today. It's my my Green Bay Packer mug. But what's cool about this Packer mug, it also is a speaker. And so y'all know I do the sports show Kyle Brusted Nortman on ESPN Wisconsin 2 to 5. And so whenever I feel a little spicy, I'm gonna start. Y'all hear it? There it is. I'm going to turn on Packer. Go, Pack, go. Whenever they start talking crazy about my Packers, I'm going to just turn on Go, Pack, go on their behinds when I put in the Bluetooth mode I had. So I'm excited about it. But anyways, on today, Truth to Power. I just had to start off in a little space because, I like to make sure people are informed and up to date. Oh, gosh, that's loud. I want to make sure people are updated and informed on everything that's going on around us. And so where I want to start off today is I want to start off with the deportation of a man, right? They deported the wrong man. So as y'all know, the Trump administration is deporting a lot of individuals, right? People who they say are bad hombres or just bad individuals or whatever they want to say. But they're deporting a lot of different people out of America. See, now the reason why I want to start about talking about deportation is, listen, it is what it is. I think there should be a little bit more planning and strategy around the deportation of people. But it is what it is, and if the courts are going to allow for people to be deported, there's nothing I can legitimately do to stop that. Now, the reason why I wanted to start off is talking about this wrongly deported man, because this is an interesting story. Because one thing America has built itself on coming to this country as an immigrant, coming to this country and working hard, and coming to this country and trying to live out the American dream. That is one thing that they talk about, is working your behind off to live the American dream. That's something that's universally respected by all Americans, right? And so I get it. When we had this conversation talking about immigrants, a lot of times our community, we don't really concern ourselves with immigrants because, we have our own issues that we need to prioritize. I get it. We get upset about how there are immigrants who can come into our neighborhoods and profit off the things that we like, but we don't support our own. I understand. I get it. So I get it, when we talk about immigrants here in the black community, sometimes we really don't care too much because sometimes they do think they're better than us. But I do want to say this. When we talk about them thinking that they're better than us, whose fault is that, right? Like when I think about whose fault it is, I'm not justifying it by any means. But when I think about, as we think about together, Truth Nation, is I don't actually blame some of these immigrants for thinking this way. Now, I blame them for treating people a certain way. I 100% do believe that. But when I think about why they come to America and why they look at us a certain way, I think about the media and the way we're portrayed. I think about society as a whole and the way that we're talked about. Great example. I had to read this book, Audible, fantastic. I listened to it. I read this book and it talked about leadership. And something that struck me in this, then we'll get back on, but I just want to get off on this. Something that struck me was during this book, it talked about being able to relate to the team that you manage. And they said it needs to be authentic. And the example that they gave in a book of being inauthentic is that if you are a 50-year-old manager or CEO or somebody who's leading a group of people and you are trying to relate to your team that you work with on hip hop, that it could be inauthentic. That was a red flag for me because that right there just showed me that the author of this book and a lot of white society, the way that they look at African Americans and the way they look at hip hop and the way they look at the culture that we have is they don't think it's possible. And granted, the book was written in 2007, but still, that's not too far long ago. And I was, growing up at that time. At that time when they wrote the book, they thought it was far-fetched that a manager, a boss, a leader could talk about hip-hop and be authentic with their team about trying to connect with them based off hip-hop. Now, remember, that's in 2007. Hip-hop launched in the 80s, or took off, I should say, in the 80s. Shouldn't say launched. Took off in the 80s and blew up in the 90s. 2007, you got people who had graduated year after year after year that were in leadership roles by 2007 that could be leading. So, again, when I talk about culture and I talk about the perception, right, of what the American dream is, it's not these immigrants' fault that the American dream is not us. Because we are the ones not depicted as the American dreams. We are the ones that are depicted as thugs, depicted as criminals, depicted as aggressors or aggressive individuals. So I do not fault them. And when I say them, the immigrants that come here that have preconceived notions of us. Again, but I do fault them on the way that they treat us, right? Because they forget where they came from. So I will say that is that they should definitely treat us a certain way because the reason they are here, most of them, because a lot of them, especially ones being deported, are seeking asylum from some type of hatred from their country. So I do understand that when it comes to immigrants, there are some issues that we have with the way that they treat us. But again, I can't fully blame them because they came into a country that doesn't treat us right here in America. But back to my main topic that I wanted to really cover, and that is the story of Kilmar Abrigo Garcia. He is a 29-year-old El Salvadorian man who has been here in America, or was here in America, since 2011. So you're talking about he was here in America for 14 years. I'm not a mathematician, but 15 plus 14 equals 29. So this man has been here in America since he was a teenager, right? Before he could legally drive, before he can actually not be told he does not have to go and get an education like he had to go to high school here. So he had been here since he was a teenager. Now, the story about him is the fact that he legally, due to a court order that was put in place in 2019, he legally had a right to be here in America. Now, Kilmar was rounded up and deported recently to a maximum security prison in El Salvador, a prison that is notoriously known for being one of the most strict and toughest and, just roughest places you can potentially be sent, and it has some of the worst criminals you could potentially be sent in El Salvador. And so what we're talking about here, Truth Nation, is we're talking about an individual who was living his life legally in the United States, a man who was married to a U.S. citizen, has a U.S. citizen son, who was contributing to our society, working in a factory, a union worker in a metal factory, who was snatched off the streets of Maryland wrongfully. This man was snatched off the streets of Maryland, put in chains, put on a plane, and shipped to El Salvador on accident. This is a huge mistake. They literally broke up a family of a man that was living out the American dream the way he was told to do it. It is a bad mistake, and usually when people make bad mistakes, Truth Nation, they take something called accountability, right? And in this case, when it talks about accountability and whoops, my bad, you should probably you deported him wrongfully, you should probably bring him back, right? Bring him back to his family, right? Because according to the administration, the Trump administration, they even admitted in court that they accidentally sent him over to El Salvador based off an administrative error. But you would think they would do the right thing. Nope, not the administration, not at all. They are fighting against bringing this man back after admitting in court he was wrongly deported. He did everything he was supposed to, Truth Nation. He literally did. As part of his agreement to be able to stay in this country, he had to stay out of trouble, which he did. He had no legal trouble whatsoever. He had to check in with ICE every single year to make sure that he was checking in and that he was, good to go. No criminal record whatsoever. He's paying taxes here in America. He's a husband. He's a father. He's a hardworking man of the community. And again, has no criminal record. Was taken from his home by mistake, and the United States government admitted that was the case and are refusing to bring him home. Now, Truth Nation, the reason why I wanted to bring this up, because I think it's important, and I try to do this every day or as much as possible during the week, is to provide information and stories that we may not have heard about. Last week, I told you the story about Austin Metcalf and Carmelo Anthony, not the Carmelo we know, a child. Carmelo stabbed Austin in the chest. More information and news is coming out, and if you saw over the weekend, you probably saw more about this story. This story is starting to gain steam. The police report is out, right? But I wanted to make sure that we're informed on some of the things that are happening in our society that we may hear about that may impact us some way, may not directly impact us, but may make us feel a certain way. And for me, when I saw this story, it just let me know that we now live in a country that lacks empathy. There was a man who was living in this country legally who was wrongly deported and sent away from this country, away from his family, for something he did not do. We have wrongly locked up people and convicted people in our neighborhoods that we fight for justice for. That sucks, but at least you can go see your wrongly convicted family member. This person was sent to a whole nother country where his son cannot see him. His wife cannot visit him. This is unimaginable. I couldn't fathom being separated from my family, not just going to prison. Prison, A, ain't for me. That's why I don't do nothing wrong. But B, I couldn't imagine being shipped to one of the toughest prisons in the world in El Salvador on accident, and the United States government saying, whoops, our bad, but we ain't finna get you. That is nonsense. That is crazy. And again, it is sad to know that this country has lost empathy. This really goes against everything America stands for and everything America was built for. And it was built on the fact that if you work hard and you do what's right, you can make it in America. But in this case, in this administration, in this time, that is not the case, unfortunately, for people who are here. So again, I just wanted to shed light on a situation that I saw, and I've seen it in the news, but I felt like I need to bring it to everybody here on Truth Nation to understand that we are living in some interesting times here in America. We're living in times where students who are doing the same thing that they did against the Vietnam War back in the 60s and things that we saw against, the war in Iraq in the early 2000s and the protests that we saw when, Michael Brown was killed in the turnaround. I think that was 2011, I want to say, around that time. Protests that we saw as well with the murder of George Floyd. Now we have the protest of the Israel-Hamas war and protesting about the many innocent lives of Palestinians that have died. And now what we're seeing is an administration take student visas away from students for protesting in this country. It is a slippery slope that we're going down. And as I talked about yesterday, with MPS maybe on the federal watch list when it comes to Department of Education because of some of their gender programs that they have in their schools, we are living in a time where they are holding universities, they are holding schools hostages and people hostage if they don't believe what they believe, if they don't see the world they see it. If they step out of line, they'll put them back in line or they'll ship them out. Or what we're going to see here in America, what we're going to see here in Wisconsin is funding being threatened away from public school education in communities that are already struggling to find a way to properly educate the future of America. So I'm just letting y'all know right now that we are living in what seems to me to be an authoritarian government. And y'all wait for June 14th when y'all see the military parade taking place on a particular day that, I don't know, June 14th. Zach, can you do something for me? Can you Google Donald Trump's birthday? I'm very interested. They said it's going to be on June 14th, I believe. That's the day that they're going to hold the military parade to celebrate America's 250 years of military. When was Donald Trump born, Zach? He was born what day? June 14th. Well, I'll be damned. Isn't that quite the coincidence? We're going to have this parade of the military, just like you see in North Korea and Russia, here in America on the president's birthday. Can't make this stuff up, Truth Nation. 833-212-1017. On the other side, we're going to have a conversation talking about the fact that, listen, there are some things in our community that we need to fix. And I saw something about housing voucher discrimination and a story about that. And I want to let y'all know why I am not pro-discrimination, but I think it's about time we end this housing voucher. I'll tell you why on the other side. Keep it locked. You're listening to Truth to Power here on the award-winning 1017 The Truth. I'm Kyle Wallace. I'll take your calls. I'll take your texts. Coming up next, make sure y'all watch and stream us live on YouTube. That's 1017 The Truth on YouTube, 833-212-1017. We'll talk more after this.
Truth to Power with Kyle Wallace returns after this on 1017 The Truth app, and streaming live on 1017 The Truth on YouTube.
Brewers baseball is the sound of summer in Milwaukee. And now you can catch the Brewers on local TV for select Tuesday night games.
Curio sends it deep to left, and there she
It's
goes.
Brew Crew Tuesdays. On April 15th, the Crew take on the Detroit Tigers at 6:40 p.m.
Swing. He went. Another strikeout for Freddie
This
Peralta.
Brew Crew Tuesday is presented by Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. See the action on Fox 6 in Milwaukee and check your local listings for where you can watch over the air statewide on April 15th.
Join the City of Milwaukee for a chance to connect your business to potential contracting opportunities with the city and county government at the upcoming City of Milwaukee Vendor Fair. This event is a gateway to expand your business through workshops, networking, and access to staff regarding city contracting opportunities. The event takes place from 8 a.m. until 3 p.m. on Thursday, April 24th at BMO Tower, 790 North Water Street, floors 2 and 11. Again, that's the City of Milwaukee Vendor Fair on Thursday, April 24th from 8 a.m. until 3 p.m. at the BMO Tower in downtown Milwaukee. Come learn about the city's bid submittal process, small business certification, and contracting opportunities. Parking validation is available for this event at the BMO Tower. You don't want to miss this one. Save the date for April 24th at BMO. Sponsored by the City of Milwaukee Department of Administration, City of Milwaukee Purchasing Department, and the City of Milwaukee Department of City Development. For more information, you can visit milwaukee.gov/DOA events.
Ever had a question about local services, neighborhood events, civic engagement, or ways to get more involved in the community and just didn't know who to ask? That's where 1MKE comes in. 1MKE is a nonpartisan coalition helping Milwaukee residents to find trusted information and easy opportunities to get civically engaged. Want to plug into a neighborhood event, find community services, give back through volunteering? 1MKE is here to help. Learn more and get involved at 1mke.org. That is 1mke.org. We are 1MKE.
Ready to buy your first house, move into your forever home, or simply refinance? At Associated Bank, they've got you. With the right lending plan and guidance, you can achieve your dreams. Your financial goals are closer than you think, and Associated Bank is excited to help you reach them. Learn more at associatedbank.com/lending or ask a banker for details. Subject to credit approval, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
The Alpha Phi Alpha, Delta Chi Lambda, 7 Jewels Foundation Incorporated has supported over 125 young men through the Young Gentleman's Scholarship Botillion. We're asking for your support to help continue this important work and empower the next generation of leaders. Through this program, young men receive mentorship, personal development, and scholarships to achieve their dreams. We need your help to raise over $20,000 in scholarships, including a $5,000 grand prize. Call 414-364-2835 to make a difference today. Support the Botillion, invest in the future of our young men.
You are listening to Truth to Power with Kyle Wallace on 1017 The Truth and The Truth app. Catch Truth to Power every weekday from noon to 1 p.m.
Truth Nation, our 4th annual Tory Low Community Cleanup is this Saturday, April 12th from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. and we want you to be there. Go to truthcommunitycleanup.com to sign up to volunteer to help keep Milwaukee clean. That is truthcommunitycleanup.com to sign up to help keep Milwaukee clean. We'll be at 3 different locations here in Milwaukee. The first one will be off about 76th and Flores. We'll be cleaning up. The second one will be at St. Matthew's CME Church around 9th and Locust. And the last location will be around Burleigh and North Avenue at St. Marcus Burleigh campus. Can't wait to see you all there. Everyone who registers for the last cleanup site will get a free lunch provided by Cousin Subs. Register today, again, at truthcommunitycleanup.com to clean and beautify our city together. The Tory Low Community Cleanup on this Saturday from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. is presented by 1MKE. We are 1MKE and sponsored by Cousin Subs, U.S. Cellular, Landmark Credit Union, Ray's Coca-Cola, and Waste Management. 833-212-1017. This is Truth to Power here on the award-winning 1017 The Truth. Shout out to Dr. Ken. He's in the chat on YouTube, talking to folks in the YouTube chat on 1017 The Truth. Y'all can holler at him inside of the chat. Oh, he said getting ready to tap out. But go ahead and make sure y'all watching stream us live on YouTube. Shout out to you, Ken. He said that was a powerful story. Yeah, it was a crazy story. Crazy story I shared on the other side talking about how there was an individual, a gentleman, who goes by the name of Kilmar Abrigo Garcia, a 29-year-old El Salvadorian man who has been in the U.S. since 2011, has been had a court order to be here since 2019, was rounded up and deported to a maximum security prison in El Salvador, a notoriously known El Salvadorian prison where some of the worst gang members there in El Salvador go. This man was sent there on an administrative error. They're asking for him to come back. The courts asked for him to come back by yesterday. Then they had a stay that was put on, I believe, by Chief Justice Roberts. But the Supreme Court a stay where they don't have to bring him back right now, which is crazy because this man was legally here in the U.S. 833-212-1017. Before we transition over to the next story, Josh, you're on the award-winning 1017 The Truth. What are your thoughts on this conversation?
Hey, Kyle, how's it going?
Going well.
It's just it's a lack of accountability, a lack of responsibility, and a lack of transparency. This is what happens when you implant an oligarchy to take over your government. Billionaires aren't accountable to anyone. They think they're above the law and that they can do whatever they want. And unfortunately, when you have one party who is literally spineless because they're afraid, what do you expect is going to happen? Unfortunately, we're going to see more and more of this as time goes on, and it's just sad because a lot of these people contribute to our local communities and country as a whole, and a lot of people don't know that most of these immigrants pay hundreds of billions of dollars into taxes to help fund our country, and the fact that some of these people deny it is just mind-boggling to
Josh,
me.
Can I ask you a question?
I don't really understand.
You said you asked people who are spineless. I assume you're talking about the Democratic Party being spineless. But when you see what's happening in the courts, like a great example is today, if you all know that, maybe you don't know if you haven't seen the news, as we know that Donald Trump and the Doge have laid off a lot of federal workers. I believe 16,000 federal workers were ordered to be rehired, and the Supreme Court actually just put a pause on the order to rehire 16,000 federal workers. So I asked you, Josh, as you saying there's people who are spineless, but if you have the courts who are able to, the Supreme Court specifically, that are able to be another extension of power of the president, what more can the Democrats do?
Well, as far as being spineless goes, it's really both parties, but I think the one that's gripped more by fear are Republicans. Democrats just aren't in a position to actually do anything.
Got it.
As far as the courts go, the courts are not supposed to be an extension of the president. They are supposed to be an equal power of government to have checks and balances, just like Congress has the power of the purse.
But we know that's not the reality, though, Josh. We understand that, like, we just had a race here with Susan Crawford versus Brad Schimmel, and we all know what we were voting for.
Right, and the fact that because Schimmel lost, a lot of right-wingers were coming out saying, well, George Soros spent so much money, and blah, blah. Elon put $25 million into this Supreme Court election here in Wisconsin, which was by far and above more than any on the Democratic side. So that's just hypocrisy in itself. But the Supreme Court is not supposed to be partisan, and it's become a right-wing hack. It really has been. And I think some of those justices are beholden to Trump because he put them on there. And
I agree,
maybe I'm wrong on that, but that's just how I see it.
No, Josh, thank you so much. I think you're right. I mean, I don't think so much just beholden to Trump. I think when you get somebody who you strategically select who you want to be on the Supreme Court because you understand that most of their views probably align with your views, right? Like, it's unfortunate that we have Supreme Courts across this country and judges across this country that have political leans that allow for them not to apply the law the way it's supposed to be applied. They apply a law based off their political lean, which is unfortunate because we don't win as Americans. We don't get true justice. But 833-212-1017, thank you so much, Josh, for chiming in. But as I want to transition on to the next conversation and topic, and as always, y'all can stream and watch us live on YouTube, is I saw an article in the Journal Sentinel yesterday, and I said, well, let me go ahead and put this in my notes because this is something that I definitely wanted to cover. I'm going to read the headline. The Journal Sentinel article written by Evan Wynn. It says, Milwaukee renters using Section 8 housing vouchers still face discrimination, a report shows. The majority of Milwaukee area renters who use housing vouchers live in low-income neighborhoods despite the program's intent to offer residents a wider range of choices, a report shows. Now, some of you may be or may not be familiar with this, but there's something called HACM, also known as the Housing Authority of the City of Milwaukee, and also Milwaukee County Housing Authority as well, or it may not be authority. But they provide vouchers to low-income residents around Milwaukee, right? Milwaukee, the City of Milwaukee, and also Milwaukee County. Now, the report basically just said that people are being discriminated against based off the fact that they have these low-income vouchers. They say those who have the vouchers are having a hard time finding housing in non-low-income neighborhoods, right? Like if you got this housing voucher for the City of Milwaukee and Maybe there was a housing voucher here in a potential opportunity to stay in a place here in downtown Milwaukee, which there is. They're saying they're having a hard time getting in some of these places in downtown Milwaukee. They're only finding places in other neighborhoods that may have a little bit more crime or maybe a little bit more distress. And when I think about this, I don't think it's fair. I don't think it's right, but I do think it's common sense. And why I say this is that I am anti-discrimination. That's obvious, duh. Like, I'm against discrimination. But when we see articles like this and we start talking about these housing vouchers here, Truth Nation, I don't understand why there's any confusion about why there is people who don't want to house people with housing vouchers. Now, I think everybody deserves an opportunity to thrive, right? But I do understand why there may be some people who are hesitant to accept those who have housing vouchers. And I think back to the fact that it comes a lot down to I respect everybody. But typically what we see with home ownership, and I just talked about the Truth Community Cleanup, Tory Low Community Cleanup coming up. And what you'll see, and with this cleanup we've been doing now for 4 years, it's going to be our 4th year, is depending on what neighborhood you go in, if you go in a neighborhood that has a lot of single-family homes, a lot of home ownership, the grass is green, the neighborhoods are dang near spotless. If you go in a neighborhood that has a lot of side-by-sides, that has a lot of duplexes up and down, that has 8-unit, 4-unit buildings, you see a little bit more trash. And this just goes to actually taking ownership in where you live at. And this is what Alderman Westmoreland was kind of complaining about. He didn't go directly down this route. His was more just about his displeasure with seeing trash all in the streets. But I'll take it a step forward and speak for Alderman Westmoreland, because one thing that he probably notices within his own district is that when he drives down his district streets where there might be more renters who may be on some of these housing vouchers, he may see a little bit more of the Hennessy bottles that he talked about. He may see a little bit more of the garbage or the tumbleweave, as he mentioned inside of his press release. Those are his words, not mine. Black a mile rappers. Some of the stereotypical things that I guess come with being black. But in those areas, he may see that versus when he goes to the areas where they have subdivisions of homes and areas of homes where you won't see all that junk and that garbage around. And so when I saw this article, when I saw the word discrimination, I was just thinking to myself, is it discrimination, or is it I want my community to stay beautiful and I can't trust that others who don't have the same level of ownership or pride in their neighborhood to come over here to my neighborhood and mess it up? Because I can guarantee it, in my Charles Barkley voice, is that home ownership plays a role in what we see in our community. I can guarantee it, in Charles Barkley voice, that Alderman Westmoreland will probably second what I'm saying about the communities that have more homeowners look better. They need less cleaning. And so what it just comes down to is not about anti-discrimination, Truth Nation. It just comes down to the fact that you don't want to live next to somebody who does not value your community, does not value your block. And so when I think about all this, I think about the fact that the Trump administration is doing a lot of reform. And I know a little bit about the voucher system. And let me tell you something. If Trump was going to reform something, the voucher system needs to be reformed. And a lot of y'all know it's the dirty secret. We all know. There's some people out here who are taking advantage of the system, living off the system. We know that to be true. From the daycare scams that many people used to run, may still run, where your daycare was open 24 hours a day, but it was your cousin and kinfolk all there, or maybe not there. We know them scams that people used to run, to the fact that people now have the voucher scam where you got people who are purposely not reporting their full income, got a side hustle making $70,000 a year on a only reporting income from some other job, which gets them a voucher. And so now they making $70,000+ a year, more than what the household income is here in the city of Milwaukee, who are also living on housing vouchers where they get to pay a lower rent. That's not fair. That's not fair to other people that truly are struggling, who actually need the voucher to really help pull themselves up by the bootstraps. And so I just think when we think about this housing voucher program, when we think about Section 8 and Section 42 and all these different things and government assistance, I think it's necessary. I think we should definitely be supporting people, right? We should be helping people. But the problem that I see here, Truth Nation, we're going to talk about it on the other side, is that we have seen too many people who are creating a lifestyle off of milking off the government. Trust me, we got government garden tools and corporate government garden tools. Heck, Tesla and Elon Musk are corporate garden tools. They try to get tax breaks and rebates. Like, that's what we see. But what bothers me is that when you got 14 and 15-year-olds being groomed, being trained up to be the next generation of living off of vouchers and understanding the voucher system more than they can understand geometry, that is a problem, Truth Nation. And so when I talk about it's time to clean up some stuff, this is something that we need to clean up. Because you already know how many people move up from Chicago to get a voucher, stay here for a year, and then move back to Chicago and take that voucher anywhere they want to go. They are using our community. They are using our city. 833-212-1017. I just want to hear from y'all on this one because, again, I don't believe that people should be discriminated against when it comes to where they stay at for housing. But when I think about this voucher program and I think about, you know, some people not being able to stay in other communities, that's of course. If I paid $300,000, $400,000 for my house, why the hell would I want somebody who won't see the same value in that $300,000, $400,000 living next door to me? It's simple. And again, they may list it as discrimination. That ain't discrimination. That's called common sense. Am I wrong for this? That's what I want to know. Are we wrong for not wanting to live around low-income housing? Are we wrong for, thinking that voucher program may single-handedly be negatively impacting our community in a bad way? Are we wrong for that? 833-212-1017. I see your calls. I see your texts as well. We will get to those on the other side. Make sure y'all keep it locked. Y'all can watch on YouTube, 1017 The Truth on YouTube. But again, I want to hear from y'all because I saw discrimination when it comes to housing vouchers. I'm not discrediting that, but I think there's a little bit more to it than just discrimination. This is Truth to Power with Kyle Walls. We're going to talk about this on the other side.
More of Truth to Power is next on 1017 The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
Finding stable housing shouldn't be a struggle. The Milwaukee Rental Housing Resource Center connects renters, property owners, and partners to the resources they need, whether it's rental assistance, legal aid, mediation, or tenant education. No matter what your situation is, you do not have to go at it alone. Get assistance today by visiting renthelpmke.org. That is renthelpmke.org, or stop by their office at 728 North James Lovell Street in Milwaukee. At the Milwaukee Rental Housing Resource Center, they are here for all your housing needs.
We Energies want you to keep this important safety message in mind. Before you start digging, planting, or landscaping on your property, call 811 to have underground utilities marked. Calling 811 at least 3 business days before you plan to dig will help you know what's below and can prevent a hazardous situation. Our representatives will mark the underground utilities on your property for free. So remember, stay safe and call before you dig.
We Energies. People you can trust. Energy you can depend on.
This is your Planned Parenthood Advocates of Wisconsin Minute.
Victory Garden Initiative is an 1.5-acre urban farm that sits right in the middle of the Black community on Richards and Concordia. I don't know if you know that Harambe is a food desert. So within its borders, there are no major grocery stores. So people rely on things like dollar store, corner stores, liquor stores to buy food, which is all unhealthy. Everything we grow, and we grow everything, tomatoes to potatoes to carrots to corn to onions, and so on. And everything we grow is free to the community. It started in 2009. They wanted to build a sustainable food production system that was healthy and sustainable. And what that meant was giving people the resources to grow their own food and the skills to make sure that those attempts were successful.
This has been your Planned Parenthood Advocates of Wisconsin Minute.
Great impressions will exceed your expectations. Great impressions, perceptions, everything.
Great Impressions Graphics and Printing. They've been proudly serving the community for over 26 years from their location at the corner of 54th and Burleigh in Milwaukee. Their dedication to quality and customer satisfaction has made them a trusted name in printing and design. Great Impressions offer a wide range of services, including banners, posters, yard signs, business cards, programs, and postcards. Plus, they specialize in custom apparel printing, perfect for family reunions, sports outings, business promotions, and more. For your next project, visit greatimpress.com. That's greatimpress.com. Great Impressions. They're here when you need them.
Great impressions, perceptions, everything.
It is Truth to Power on 1017 The Truth app, and streaming live on 1017 The Truth on YouTube. You are listening to Truth to Power on 1017 The Truth app, and streaming live on 1017 The Truth on YouTube.
It is Truth to Power here on the award-winning 1017 The Truth. I am Kyle Walsh, the host of Truth to Power. You can make sure you watch and stream us live on YouTube, 1017 The Truth on YouTube. I see we turned up a little bit in there. We've having a conversation talking about the voucher program in Milwaukee, or I should say Milwaukee County has seen discrimination towards people with vouchers, and I'm saying it's not discrimination. It is just common sense. I want to hear from you, 833-212-1017. Kimberly, you're on the award-winning 1017 The Truth. What are your thoughts on this conversation?
How you doing, Kyle?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I'm good. I agree what you're saying. I don't believe it's discrimination. I believe it's choice. And people are just tired of the sloppiness, the trash. And then one thing they don't understand is when you leave a lot of trash, it brings rats, it brings raccoons, and then you got another problem in the city. So people are just tired. And I don't want to live next to you if you got trash and stuff all over the place. Who wants to live like that? And no one shouldn't have to. And I believe it's the mentality of people, you know, with the vouchers, taking advantage of, you know, making more money but paying cheaper rent, and it's not fair to the people that really, really need it. So it's choice. I don't see it as discrimination because I don't want you living next to me, trashy and got trash everywhere. You know, who wants to live like that? No one should.
No, I 100% agree. Thank you so much for calling in, Kimberly. I 100% agree is that I value everybody's lives, but at the end of the day, if I invest in this piece of property, this is an investment, and I want to protect my investment, right? Because I'm getting equity in this home, and so when I sell this home, I'll be embarrassed if I bring somebody by to potentially buy my home and there's raccoons running around, garbage on the street. That's embarrassing. I don't want to have anything that's harming my investment, and that could potentially harm my investment. It's not just selfish. It's about beautifying our community. Ron, you're on the award-winning 1017 The Truth from the South Side. What are your thoughts on the conversation?
Kyle. Thanks for taking my call, man. Listen, so the question is, are you wrong for wanting to live in a good, decent area that's free of trash and all that other stuff, correct?
Yeah, I guess that's a good way to put it.
I mean, because that's basically what it is. You don't want to, like, not too many homeowners are next to renters, but there are some there. And when you see your neighbors next door, and they got trash and they're not cutting their grass and all this other stuff to make the neighborhood look good, then I don't know if that's on you or on them, because you don't move in a neighborhood where you got a lot of renters and there's very few homeowners. You kind of want to move into an area where everybody's kind of like a homeowner. Capital used to be nothing but homeowners. Now you see nothing but renters, and you can see the transformation of, man, what it used to be in the 80s to right now.
Ron, when you say Capitol, are you talking about Capitol by Rufus King, or are you talking about Capitol by Marshall High School?
Rufus King, all that whole area, Rufus King, that Marshall, not so much, but Rufus King down there by Atkinson, you used to walk up and down Capitol and be like, man, these houses are immaculate. These are homeowners, because A.O. Smith was up there, so it was mainly people like that and
right down the
teachers
street.
and all that. So, yeah, right down the street. So I don't blame people for wanting to live into a decent area. And, you know, with the vouchers and all that, if you need help, that's cool. But if you are living off of it, then that's not cool, because it's supposed to be a help meet, not for a handout. And I think that people like making under $65,000 a year, I think personally we should get a Crest card for $200 every month, because we are putting that money into that pot, and we should get some of that instead of living next to people who ain't. Yeah, it is. I think it's a good idea. But anyway, thanks for taking my call.
No, thank you so much. And to that point, when I think about the voucher program, I'm thinking about the fact that, yes, there are absolutely people that should be on the voucher program. When I think about people who have mental or physical disabilities, right, people who have mental health issues, right, there are many reasons that there should be people that should be able to take advantage of it, whether you have fallen on a hard time. But able-bodied men, though, I will say this. You are an able-bodied man who can work but chooses not to work. Listen, brother, you can't get on the voucher. It's for women, children, and those with disabilities. Able-bodied men, absolutely not. Winky Blue, you're on the award-winning 1017 The Truth. What are your thoughts on this conversation? Winky Blue going once, twice. So, Winky Blue, make sure you call back if you want to get in the
conversation. Can you hear me?
Oh, I can hear you now, Winky Blue. I got you, Winky Blue. What's happening?
Okay, the deal is this, man. I'm listening to you, and I'm listening to your callers. Now, it's all right for me and you to say we don't want these people living in our neighborhood. But now watch this. You got to be careful now. Because when Donald Trump, Daddy, as a Democrat, refused to allow us, and we got to realize the time, at that particular time, we were fighting fair housing, and it was a big thing back then. That's what the Val Phillips is about. That's what my granddaddy was about. That's what the whole Father Grappi and all this is fair housing. So it was a big thing. But what I hear you saying, I hear the callers saying that it's not discrimination, that it's okay. I think if a person got the money to live wherever they want to live, now if they're taking that property and it's becoming a nuisance property to the neighborhood, then that's what we got neighborhood services for all across this country, to address that issue. But when we start making these kind of assumptions or accusations, we just like Donald Trump, and he was a Democrat at that point in time.
Yeah, Democrat, Republican. It was a rich white man that was making the decision to illegally. I mean, it's illegal. Again, it's illegal to do that. It is absolutely illegal to do it. I'm just letting people know that it is illegal to do it. But as somebody who lives in the neighborhood,
you feel that way, though, Kyle?
I'm saying, but what I'm pointing out is the obvious of the fact that when we talk about some of the despair that we have in our community, a lot of that has to do with the fact that people are not. They're becoming dependent on some of these vouchers. And what makes me upset is that when I used to work in the schools, these kids knew more about like W-2s and checks that they get because they got some disability than they knew about their damn ABCs. And that was the issue that I had.
Now check this out. Check this out. And you're right. You're right, brother. But now you sound like the Doge people that's going in, cutting the vouchers and cutting the program. Now Kyle, you can't have it both ways, baby. Now you sound like Doge.
No. Winky Blue. Hold on, Winky Blue. Let me we got to get to the next call, but I'm gonna say this: is when I look at Doge, I don't think there's.
I'll take it off the air, man. Go ahead.
All right, cool. I don't think there's an issue with the thought of Doge. I think there's an issue with the implementation of Doge being reckless. And I specifically said when it comes to these voucher programs here in Milwaukee, I did not say they should get rid of the voucher program. I said they need to clean it up. We need to do what they were doing a couple years back with the daycares, where the daycares are basically running daycares, but sometimes didn't have any kids there, but we're getting money for them. Or the voucher program where you have people who should not be on the voucher program who make too much money but aren't properly reporting the money. That is not fair to those that truly need to use that voucher, because they are taking a voucher that was potentially for somebody else that actually is in need away because they want to be selfish and they want to take advantage of the system. I said clean it up. Don't get rid of it. I wouldn't come through like Doge and just cut everything and say, oh, I don't know what happened. No, I would say let's strategically take a look at this and how we can truly help those who need help prosper. That's all I'm saying. 833-212-1017. Al, you're on the award-winning 1017 The Truth. What are your thoughts on this conversation?
Well, to be honest, I think it's a hindrance to black people because it keeps them stuck. Also, remember, most vouchers are only allowed in low-income, neglected neighborhoods with slumlords and politicians who do next to nothing, who own them raggedy houses that they choose to rent out. Also, when people think of Section 8, you think of a lot of kids, because a lot of times it's a certain standard that's not upheld. Also, a lot of white people been getting vouchers and living in Mequon. But me personally, if I had a bunch of rental property, I wouldn't want Section 8 because a lot of times it deals with a standard that's lacking, but it's only allowed in low-income neighborhoods because, one, there's no building inspectors, two, it's slumlords who live in suburban neighborhoods, and number three, they're not coming through there to check and uphold a standard. That's why you don't see Section 8 really downtown or in Whitefish Bay. You might see it in downtown Waukesha because there's not nobody out there, or up in Sun Prairie du Chien, or somewhere up in Wausau.
Thank you, Al. You are absolutely right. And some of those neighborhoods will fight against it. Thank you, Al. Last call here, 833-212-1017. We are talking about the voucher program and whether or not this is something that you feel bad for saying, I don't know if I want to live around individuals that don't take as much pride. Not saying that's everybody. That's not an absolute, but just saying there seems to be a trend. Miss C, you're on the award-winning 1017 The Truth here. I got about 30 seconds for you before we got to go to break. Uh-oh, Miss C. It sounds like you're listening to the radio when you're supposed to be listening to the call. So, Miss C, we're going to give you about 5 seconds here. Miss C, can you hear me?
Hello?
Yep, Miss C, here. We got about 30 seconds for you.
I'm here. Yeah, I was just wanting to say, that you're talking about, cleaning it up or, talking, like you said, just like Dole's program. So, you need to consider the way you structure things when you coming out, because you got people listening that want to change things anyway that we have already governed for our citizens. So that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you, Miss C. I appreciate you chiming in and filling in. And so I appreciate y'all joining in on the conversation, watching live on YouTube as well. I think it's a great conversation talking about, I sound like Doge, we sound like Trump Daddy, and all these different things. Or, yeah, we want to clean it up. I think it's a continued conversation we're going to have and we need to have, and we'll continue it on the other side. This is Truth to Power with Kyle Walsh. I'll give you my final thoughts on the other side as we talk about housing discrimination happening with voucher people who are on vouchers, citizens, Americans, Milwaukeeans who are on a voucher program here in Milwaukee. Keep it locked. This is Truth to Power.
More of Truth to Power is next on 1017 The Truth, The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
Brewers baseball is the sound of summer in Milwaukee. And now you can catch the Brewers on local TV for select Tuesday night games.
Curio sends it deep to left, and
it's Brew Crew Tuesdays. On April 15th, the Crew take on the Detroit Tigers at 6:40 p.m.
Swing. He went. Another strikeout for Freddie Peralta.
This Brew Crew Tuesday is presented by Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. See the action on Fox 6 in Milwaukee and check your local listings for where you can watch over the air statewide on April 15th.
It's 1017 The Truth's Dr. Ken Harris. There are times in everyone's life when life tosses you a curveball. You have to readjust, realign, and rededicate your resources to making things better. Sometimes you may know what to do. Many times it's the first time you've ever faced an issue, especially when it's financial. For the last couple of decades, I've been able to turn to Educators Credit Union. I had a financial issue that involved another family member, and I was able to go in and get advice and a plan. I'm here to tell you today it worked. At Educators, our members are our purpose. As a credit union, we're not concerned about profits or the bottom line of shareholders. Our greatest reward is you achieving your financial dreams through lower rates and access to free financial resources. Experience more heart and less hassle by making the switch today. Achieve more at ECU.com. Insured by NCUA, membership eligibility required.
Hi, Drew and Jonathan Scott here, reminding you that a lot of life's firsts are better with help from American Family Insurance. Like your first home expansion or your first big lightning strike. There's a first for everything. Get the right home policy at the right price with the right help from American Family's agents. Life's better when you're under American Family's roof. Insure carefully, dream fearlessly. Get a quote and find an agent at amfam.com.
Products not available in every state. American Family Mutual Insurance Company SI and its operating company 6000 American Parkway, Madison, Wisconsin.
You know a thing or two about the moments in life that matter. Maybe this is the most important moment you've encountered yet. By volunteering with AmeriCorps seniors, you can seize the moment, lend a hand, and get back more than you give. We connect you to local volunteer organizations with opportunities that fit your schedule and match your interests. Are you ready to seize your moment? Visit AmeriCorps.gov/yourmoment and get started today.
Wisconsin is as hard-working of a place as you'll ever find. People here are tough, but even the toughest among us need help after a serious accident. At Gruber Law Offices, we won't stop fighting for you and your family. One call, that's all.
Happy kids heal faster, and that's why Starlight is dedicated to improving the mental well-being of sick kids across the U.S. Learn how at starlight.org.
For general contest rules, visit 1017thetruth.com.
More of Truth to Power is next on 1017 The Truth, The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
1, 2, 3, ho!
April is Financial Literacy Month, and The Truth has you covered on learning about how you can best manage your finances. And all month long on Jammin' with Juice with Benjamin and Carrie Noni, we will speak with Nina Johnson, Senior Vice President and Wisconsin Branch Banking Market Leader from U.S. Bank. They will discuss financial strategies and tools they offer to their customers at U.S. Bank to help enhance your financial management skills. Financial Literacy Month on the award-winning 1017 The Truth is sponsored by U.S. Bank. Visit your local U.S. Bank branch today. This has been Truth to Power here on the award-winning 1017 The Truth, and I appreciate y'all for all the calls and all the texts that you had here on multiple conversations. We started off talking about the individual that was deported from America illegally and wrongly. Here, I'm looking for his name, but I gotta find it. Hey, Uncle Will, how you doing? How you doing? My uncle outside listening to the show just popped up on me. Shout out to my uncle. Kilmar Abrigo Garcia was deported, but then also we talked about the fact that here in Milwaukee, there was a report out by the Journal Sentinel. Eva Wynn had an article that said Milwaukee renters using Section 8 housing vouchers still face discrimination. And I said this is terrible that people are facing discrimination when they're looking for better housing for themselves, better housing for their families, just better opportunity for themselves. I get it. People are trying to help themselves, but I also understand why some people may not want to associate themselves with a community. And again, I say community, people who are on Section 8, because there may be a trend that we have seen in the past where there may not be as much value. At the end of the day, y'all, we got to find the perfect balance. I think we need to make sure that we have a system put in place where those who are on the housing vouchers are individuals who aren't scheming and scamming the system. Individuals that don't have an income, under the table hustle where they can make their money and not have to report it but still live on a voucher. Individuals who get a voucher here in Wisconsin, move, go live in another state, and then after a year take that voucher and use it somewhere else. We got to stop allowing people to hustle the system, but we also need to put an emphasis on individuals. If you are going to be somewhere in a community, then you need to love thy community and support thy community and beautify thy community. So at the end of the day, it is about uplifting people, and I hope that we can start doing that here with the voucher program, but here in Milwaukee. But this has been Truth to Power with Kyle Walls on the award-winning 1017 The Truth. Thank y'all so much for tuning in today. The Tory Lowe Show is up next from 1 to 4. I'll see y'all tomorrow. Peace out.